Hey, Sam here with a guide to battleships in Stellaris, one of, if not the best ship in the game. They are very good when it comes to damage output, and this makes them obviously very good. They also have a very good ratio when it comes to alloys to large weapon slots, and it has a very good ratio when it comes to command points to large weapon slots. In fact, it's the best in the game. So when you want to field a lot of large weapons, these are the obvious choice. The reason why this can be a problem and isn't great all the time is large weapons have great range and great damage output. That's guaranteed, that is for sure. But they aren't great at dealing with smaller ships. They don't have great tracking, and they can get swarmed very easily. And when you lose one ship, that's a big deal. That's a lot of weapons, a lot of alloys, and a lot of command points wiped out from your fleet. So they are bad against corvettes. Simply put, you don't want to field these against corvettes. However, recently that has changed a little bit. Carriers have become very good at dealing with both missiles and small ships. They have great tracking, and they can take out missiles. And this means that when you field a carrier, no longer are you just dealing with small ships, you are dealing with missiles. This means that the torpedo boat corvette can be completely negated or countered, which is great. Torpedo boat corvettes were a big problem for battleships, so this is a big deal. Now, let's get down to the real use of battleships. What I would focus on when building your battleships. I wouldn't build carriers exclusively. Carriers should be a small group of your battleships. The main force should be artillery. Now, artillery should be built to counter other large ships. I'm talking cruisers and up. When you have a lot of battleships, you can easily counter Titans. While a Titan can wipe out a battleship in one shot easily, and a Juggernaut boosts your entire fleet, destroyers are the ones that are doing the damage. Remember that. So what I run is I run large kinetic weapons because they have great range and they can do a lot of damage to shields, making it so that by the time your smaller ships get there, your corvettes get there, they can do a lot of damage focused on their armor. Now, the debate really comes down to X-sized weapons. Mega cannons, arc emitters, and tachyon lances are all good. They all have their strengths. But because I am running, and I suggest running, the mostly kinetic weapon setup, I would argue that the mega cannons should be thrown out. Then this brings us down to arc emitters and tachyon lances. Arc emitters bypass shields and armor, which is fantastic. It goes right to the hull, and it makes it very easy to damage the ship. In fact, you can destroy a ship without touching their armor or shields, which is great. But tachyon lances just have a boost to damage to shields. The reason why I would not blanket statement say arc emitters are the best is the fact that they bypass. And while that's their strength, ironically, it's also their weakness. Your smallest ships can't really do damage. They have to deal with their shields and armor on their own before they can deal with the hull. So you're almost completely relying on arc emitters to do all of your damage to these ships. And that is not a great strategy to run all the time. Now, if you're running against fallen empires or certain crises, go ahead. Run them. They're great for countering those specific cases. And in some cases, they're very good against other players. But tachyon lances are very good at combating a wide variety of ships. So typically, this is what I would run against a normal bot empire or a normal player. Keep that in mind. Run large weapons that are typically kinetic, and then debate, depending on the situation, whether to run arc emitters or tachyon lances. Battleships are great. They're a great ship overall. Don't think that their weaknesses counter their strengths in any way. They are fantastic, and you should have them in every fleet that you build the second that you get them. I would not make an argument for a fleet without battleships unless you are running only corvettes, and that is for very specific cases. And that is only due to the low speed that battleships have. Keep this in mind. Make sure that you build your battleships for the occasion, and that you matched the crisis or foe you were dealing with. If you found this helpful and you enjoyed the video, think about subscribing and watching the other videos in my ship series covering the strength and weaknesses and what builds are best for said ships.